Welcome to Mystery Miners Ghost Edition. I'm your host Sui. Today we are going to be talking about the killer in the backseat, also known as high beams. It is an urban legend from the United States and the United Kingdom. So, my spooky friends, sit back, relax, go grab a nice cup of tea, and let's get ready to get scared. The clock had struck midnight when Haley finally left her office. Exhausted and eager to go home, she got into her car and drove out. The roads were deserted and the darkness seemed to be closing in on her. She had barely made any progress when she realized that she was about to run out of gas. Haley quickly stopped by the road and looked for the nearest gas station on her phone. After pinning the location on her map apps, she quickly got back into the car and drove to the gas station. The midnight air brushed against her trench coat as she stared out of her car. The dim lights at the gas station made her weariness worse. She rubbed her eyes and smudged her mascara all over the slit of her coat. Haley leaned back on her car as she watched the numbers flicker. Another night of filling up the gas tank. Haley swiped her credit card, got her receipt, and drove off onto the highway, making her way back home. As Haley drove on, she started to nod off. A sudden jolt scared her awake. Looking in her rearview mirror, she saw a car behind her, its lights flashing on and off. She didn't recognize the license plate and couldn't make out the driver's face. She tried to shake out her fear and continued driving, but the car behind her kept getting closer. Now, Haley was scared. What's going on? Why is this car following her? Did they follow her from the gas station? Finally, the other car got extremely close to her car and slammed into her rear bumper, causing her to swerve out of control. As Haley struggled to regain control of her car, the other driver continued to pursue her, driving aggressively and erratically. There were no houses, no service stops, no one to call out for help. Haley didn't understand anything that was going on. She kept accelerating, trying to gain an advantage with the car behind. Her heart about to explode, but she managed to enter the city roads a few minutes later. With all of the cars off the city roads, she managed to leave her pursuer behind. She managed to make it to her house, but as soon as Haley got out of the car, she saw the other driver pull out behind her. She swiftly ran inside her home, keys jangling frantically as she tried to lock the door behind her. And her heart was beating so loud. Her ears were red from pure fear, and she was shaking so hard. Haley went to the window, and she couldn't believe it. The cars that were chasing her parked right behind hers. He had followed her home. She had no idea what was happening or why this man had been following her. Haley peeked out of a window to see what was going on, and she saw a short, frightened man got out of the car. And he got to her front lawn and he yelled at her. "Call the police! Call the police! Don't open your door!" Suddenly, a man in the long leather coat and carrying an axe got out of her own car. With a phone stab, he launched at the driver who was chasing her and dismembered him in a matter of seconds. Haley didn't contain her screams or hysteria. That driver who was chasing her The only thing he wanted was to warn the woman that there was someone in her backseat. At the gas station, he had seen how this killer had broken into the woman's car while she was filling up her gas tank, and she forgot to lock the doors of her car. The next day, the police found Hallie's body in her house with broken window panes. Despite all the investigations, the killer in the backseat was never identified. The story has been around since at least the late 1960s, and more people haven't learned about it after it was mentioned in the letter to Ann Landers in 1982. Ann Landers was the pen name of the popular advice columnist named Appy, who wrote for several newspapers in the United States. Some people think the story might have been based on a similar case that had happened in 1964, where a murderer who had escaped from prison hid in the backseat of a car and was shot by the car's owner, who was a police detective. There have been other cases that are somehow similar, but not exactly the same, that have been talked about by the person who studies folklore. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Mystery Minus Ghost Edition. Make sure you catch us next week for another scary story on MI Radio.